Hi, this video is about the psychosocial interview portion of your course project. So I'm going to talk about what questions you're going to ask, how you're going to record the video, where you're going to submit the video in this video. Okay, that was a lot of using the word video. So we've already gone over the information about who you have to interview. So if you need a review of that, please go back to the overview of the assignment page, which is one click back. We'll also put a link on this Edpuzzle assignment page. What you want to do before you start the interview is to set aside the time, decide how you're going to record it, and review the questions that you're going to ask. So we're going to go over the questions, but first, the how are you going to record it part. Now you can either use Zoom or your phone. I mean, if you have a webcam or GoPro or something, you want to use something else, that's fine. But if you're not used to doing this, those are the two easiest ways to complete the interview. You will need to generate a file that you can upload to YouTube. So generally that's an MP4 file. So recording from your phone, like making a video, or using Zoom, it's the easiest way to get that file. I'm sure there's other ways. We're just going to focus on those two. Now on this page, you have a tab with what to do with your video after you record it. So we'll look at that at the end of the video. But let's go to the questions. That's usually where people have the most of their own questions. So when you're recording your interview, no matter how you do it, you're going to start with an introduction and just introducing the person that you are interviewing and getting their permission to record the conversation and share it with your professor. So your interviewee can be assured that their interview will not be shared with the class because you're only going to be uploading it to YouTube under an unlisted privacy rights, which generates a link that you then give to me. So you don't have to share it with the class. It'll only be shared with me. Your interviewee does not have to provide their real name. If they're uncomfortable, they can use initials if they want to. And you can also use like a blank screen or like point the camera to, I don't know, dogs playing. That's what someone did last semester. They don't have to be in the video. So if that helps them be more comfortable, then it's fine. They don't have to be. Of course, the interviews and the videos where there's actually people talking and you can see them are more interesting for me to watch, but I understand. Okay, what questions do you ask? There is a list of optional questions here to give you enough information to write the analysis section of your paper and the ethnic comparison or group comparison sections. You do not have to ask all of these questions. Some of them may not apply to your interviewee, or they may be, you may feel uncomfortable asking them. So you get to pick and choose which questions you ask. Most people ask the majority of these questions, but obviously some of them may not apply. You can also add questions to this list. So for example, down here, where I put ethnic group specific questions, you may, let's say your interviewee is Native American, you may want to come up with some questions specific from that chapter to ask the person that you are interviewing. So please feel free to do that. In fact, I strongly encourage you to do that. The last section here is voices from the people, and I put it in like yellow highlight because generally when you're interviewing someone, if they're allowed to sort of just tell a story, just talk, they are a lot more comfortable than having to answer questions. And so if and you can move all of this around, it doesn't have to be in any kind of order, but if you just ask the person if there's a story, lesson, or experience they feel is unique to their ethnic group and have them just talk about it, you may get a lot of the information you need just from the person telling stories about how they grew up, what was it like in the neighborhood they grew up in, if they grew up in another country, what was their experience coming here, So you don't have to be so prescriptive and question to question. Let them talk. If they start to get comfortable and start telling you stories and talking about stuff, that's fine. The important thing is to get the information to be able to write about their experience by applying the content from our course. All right. So once you get the interview and you have, saved the file, you're going to upload your video to YouTube. And there are several videos here on how to do that, including one that I stumble through to show you how, because, sometimes these videos are older or they have like the premium account. So I made a free, unpaid account and just went through it step by step to show you how to do it. So mine is a little longer because I'm not a professional like these people, but you'll get the idea of how to do this. If you have experience uploading videos, then, you can ignore all of my, rudimentary directions, and all I need is the link to your video ultimately. But some people haven't done this before, and so this is why we have this video going on. I do have a tab for commonly asked questions, so I'm just going to go over those. I'll add to these based on questions that may come up from the class. Does the interviewee need to be in the video? No, you can use Zoom and have the camera off. You can point the camera to the wall or the floor and just do the audio recording, but it's still a video because you need that file to upload into YouTube. You can do YouTube Live, I guess, if you know how to do that, which I do not. So you can record it however you want. Ultimately, what I need is the link and the transcript. Do I have to use all the questions? No, but I'm going to give you a pro tip here. One pro tip would be to add questions in from the sections that you're planning to write about. Remember, you have those 4 analysis sections. 2 are required, 2 you choose from. So you get to choose 2 of these sections that you're going to have to write a big paragraph about. You want to make sure that you have the information you need. So you may want to return to these sections in the book and come up with some of your own questions in order to give you +enough for that section. So I put some examples down here. So for example, if you're interviewing someone that identifies as LGBTQIA+, or with the community, then you may want to ask questions about that. And if they don't, well, obviously you don't want to ask questions about that. You don't have to. If your interviewee did not immigrate to this country, maybe their family has been here for generations, then you really don't have to ask the immigration questions or acculturation questions. You could still ask, when did their family settle in the Central Valley, because they may have a story about that. So change the questions to fit the person you're interviewing. This is not, a perfect set of questions by any means. How long does the interview need to be? This always comes up. You need it to be long enough to get the information to write the paper. I recommend about 15 minutes because you want the person to start to get comfortable and tell you stuff that's interesting. And sometimes you look back at these and it's a really great experience. So about 15 minutes would be sort of the minimum. But if they're a great storyteller and you have this great conversation, it can be longer. There's no limit. I'm not going to hold you to a limit. I just want to make sure you get enough information to write the paper because it is a big project. And then what should I do if my interviewee uses slang or curses? I'm totally fine with that. It's not a problem. They should feel comfortable speaking however they want to speak. I can generally understand everything. And because you upload it into YouTube, even if you do the interview in another language, I can get the translation from YouTube, which is why we're using that for the submission. So I will add that thing about the other language on here too. So yes, you can conduct your interview in any language you want that your interviewee is comfortable with, and it will automatically translate at least good enough for me to understand. All right, thank you so much for hanging in there for the interview, conducting the interview overview. Thank you so much.